Is for the gubernatorial candidates only, and it has to do with using the influence of the executive branch to deal with the fact that our National Guard is being used as professional soldiers. And yet, as we know, many of them are coming back from war, part-time soldiers who are now permanently damaged, scarred, and broken in many ways. What would you do as the chief executive to help the citizens of the state welcome these people back and to help heal them? And we'll begin with you, Mr. Euban.
Okay. Tom Euban, Republican for Governor. I tell you, I have nothing but an admiration for these people that go over and fight. I personally was never in the service. I couldn't get through the physical. But anyway, what I would do is I would hope that the state of Wyoming would appreciate these people so much that they would help their families through the hard times, especially when they call up, the husband or the wife, and usually they have some kids at home, and when they take off, they lose their revenue. And there's one way that Wyoming needs to support these families desperately, because it puts a lot of strain on them, a lot of stress. And I know this personally because my niece, she's over in Iraq right now, and she has a little 4-year-old boy at home, and her husband's taking care of him. And it's really, really hard on them, making the payments on the houses and everything else. So that's one thing Wyoming really needs to do. They need to support their people that are in the National Guard and take care of the families and help them out while one of the parents is over there fighting for our freedoms. Thank you.
Ms. Peterson, let's just work.
It's the other way.
Oh, is it going the other way? Okay. Rita Meyer?
Rita Meyer, well, I've had the honor to, Rita Meyer, Republican candidate for governor. I've had the honor to serve in the National Guard. I've served both in Iraq and most recently as a commander in Afghanistan, in charge of a base and building a base over in Afghanistan. And I truly and personally understand the cost that accrues to the families of military members that are deployed. And now with Afghanistan and Iraq, our men and women, even here in Wyoming, are deployed over and over and over. And there's a huge cost accruing to these young men and women and their families. I want to tell you, and thanks to the legislators here, Kermit Brown and others here, and the tremendous work you have done in terms of supporting our men and women in uniform. I'll tell you what, per capita, Wyoming has more support for men and women in uniform than any other state in the United States of America. And I'm proud of our communities and how well you support our veterans, as well as our legislature and our current governor. And I would continue certainly on that track. I know we have a big endowment fund that's used to help families in the absence of a service member, to help make them whole while the service member is gone with additional expenses to their family. I've worked personally on mental health counseling and mental health centers for servicemen and women when they return home. Sometimes they come back, their jobs are gone. We're addressing that through some legislation. We're doing a lot of great work here in Wyoming. Do we have to do more? You betcha. I've also worked with both veterans hospitals. We have to make sure these young men and women have signed on the dotted line, and we have to make sure when they return, they get the care they receive, they deserve.
Yeah, that's fine.
Pete Gosar, Democratic candidate for governor. Like Rita and the other speakers, for sure, I do support the troops in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I thank them every day for their contributions to my personal freedom and to those of us who are here today exercising our democracy. I heard a troubling stat today as I drove from Pinedale about the amount of suicide and how that has not been addressed. And so as governor of Wyoming, I would take that very seriously. You know, we're on pace to outdistance the amount of suicides in people returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, national average, by an unbelievable percentage. And so mental health is really important. And I think post-traumatic stress disorder needs to be talked about and needs to be addressed. I too also believe that the families undergo an unbelievable amount of stress from having people gone and away for years and years and years. And so there's too the ability with mental health in the families. VA should be top-notch. For people who have served, the VA should always be the best care that can be given. And so I would have no problem supporting the VA. And so with the families, post-traumatic stress disorder, mental health, and the VA, that's how I should support the people that have fought so valiantly for my freedom.
Matt Mead, Republican for Governor. I think the first thing you do is recognize the sacrifice that the men and women make themselves, and their families also make a sacrifice. And I would say this, I give kudos to our current governor because he sees them all, he welcomes them home, he attends their funerals, and he lets them know that they are a priority in Wyoming. And certainly we need to continue that. And I'd also salute our legislature for the funding that they provide with the endowment fund. I think that needs to be continued. And picking up where Pete left off, the suicide rate in those coming home from the military is way too high, relative even to Wyoming, which has a suicide rate that is too high compared to the rest of our country. And part of that is certainly the mental health issue, and part of that is alcohol and substance abuse. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is, as we have a family court, I'm thinking about and working on now a proposal to have a separate court for some of those folks returning home to help them work through their problems, because they are coming back to a difficult situation, and too often we don't recognize that. And they have served us, they have served our country, they protect our freedom, and we need to make sure that they are welcome back in every way, and they're given every chance to come back and continue with a happy life.
It was really Memorial Day this year when I first began my campaign, and I went to a Memorial Day service in Pinedale on a perfect day, looking at the mountains and thinking about what these people have given for our freedom. And later that day I drove over South Pass, and I stopped for a minute to stretch and look out, and I thought about those people and the families I had been with, and I just stood there with tears in my eyes for a while. It was one of those moments you never forget in your life. When you go last in this line, there are a few substantive things that can be added, but I would say that one of the most important things, because the question is, how can you use the influence of the governor's office? One way you do that is you let those people know how much we care about what they did and how much we admire and respect them. And I agree with Matt. Governor Friedenthal has been so wonderful, the way he has gotten to know every one of those people and seen them off, welcomed them home, and gone to every single funeral. And I think that's wonderful for our governor to do, and I would want to do that as well. And I would want to make sure that our VA hospitals have absolutely everything they need to give the very best service we can possibly do. I support the mental health. I applaud the legislature. I see Kermit's back there. He should take a bow. There have been some great things done for our vets, and we need to keep doing it.